If you've been anywhere near BookTok as of late, you've probably heard the phrase intellectualism thrown around like a weapon. So today, I want to talk about it. Calmly. Like adults. I brought studies and everything. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Neverland Book Club. Either my algorithm is trying to tell me something, or I found myself on the rage reader side of BookTok, because recently, this is every other video I've been getting. There have been others, but considering this discourse in particular, I thought it necessary to speak up on the matter myself. I believe this uptick in buzzwords like intellectualism lately has something to do with the saturation of certain types of books on platforms such as Kindle Unlimited. That with self-publishing now, there's little to no barrier to entry. So how do we know what we're reading is any good? And you know, Stephen King even said the rise of self-publishing is a good thing. That lowering that barrier so people with a writing dream don't have to beg for scraps in a world that's mostly based on luck or proximity, but can try and make it on their own merit. Now, I get that there's some limits to the kind of schlock that can be considered literature, but honestly, publishing houses aren't exempt from this either. Sometimes it feels like there's a mass market objective. Pump out the most tropeable, sellable books fast to keep up with the BookTok command. And yes, some titles go viral for what may be deemed the wrong reasons, but Babel blew up, and so did Alchemized, and every Emily Henry or Ali Hazelwood novel. And then there's novels like Den of Vipers or Haunting Adeline, all books I have read, by the way. And that elitism, that's when I get like a sour taste in my mouth. And hey, ask anyone who knows me. I can be a snob, I'm aware, but I'm not here to shame anyone for enjoying what they enjoy. I understand why one person may rave about Den of Vipers and another find themselves lost in the footnotes of Babel. That's fine. But while the BookTok community is busy wielding the concept of intellectualism, I think some might be missing the point. Reading comprehension. And I think that's where the real conversation should be. Because I actually do think we're seeing a decline in reading comprehension, not just based on the tropes or genres people choose to read. Our attention spans are shrinking. As a society, we can't seem to focus like we used to. And not just with reading. Plays, for example, used to be one of the sole forms of entertainment for a society who was most likely majority illiterate. And those performances could take up an entire day's worth of time. Now, we must be hooked within the first 3 seconds of a video or topic before we continue our doom scroll onward. Our culture has shifted from engagement to consumption, and that affects the way we read. Research shows that daily reading for pleasure has decreased dramatically over the past couple of decades in the US. According to this study done by the Research Department of Behavioral Science and Health at the Institute of Epidemiology and Healthcare in London, partnered with the University of Florida, god damn, that was a mouthful, there's been over a 40% decrease in those who claim to read daily for pleasure. I find it so pleasurable. But not only that, our attention spans in general are under pressure from the digital environments we find ourselves in now, with measurable declines in sustained focus over time. So what do we lose with this decline in comprehension? And how do we balance it so we don't feel like we're back in 10th grade English class? I'm sure you've heard the phrase, reading is like a muscle. It gets stronger the more you work it. But too often, this muscle atrophies due to a lack of deep focus, critical thinking, and challenge. A mind that is not regularly challenged has no potential to grow past its own boundaries to digest complex material. And when that skill is left unpracticed, the ability to hold nuance in one's mind dwindles. We lose far more than just comprehension. We stop asking questions. And this matters not just for literature, but for how we think and view the world. According to this study done by the University of Houston, attention and reading comprehension are closely linked. And when sustained attention is weak, comprehension suffers, especially with longer or more complex material. And this article, done by Oxford Learning, found that reading comprehension is more sustained with slow, focused reading in physical formats compared to digital screens. But I think that could be due in part by availability of distraction. It's not the books themselves, but how we read them. The issue isn't entirely the content itself, but what we choose to give our attention to. I do believe there's a place for breakfast reads, as I like to call them, lighter books or short stories that can be enjoyed within a Saturday morning. But if our reading diet consists of only that, how might we expect our comprehension to develop? Another argument I've heard on BookTok is that these books are poorly written because they may have more typos or grammatical errors, but I don't think that alone is proof of poor quality. It's proof of absent editing. Sure, we could use it as a checkpoint, but heck, I've found maybe 3 to 5 tempos while reading Catabasis. Does that make it a poorly written book? Of course not. Just like one giant bowl of ice cream at the end of the day doesn't ruin your years-long fitness journey. Or so I keep telling myself. Balance matters. Just as we balance our diets, our social interactions, our work and life distributions, so too must we balance what it is we consume as readers. And how do we do that, you ask? Well, don't take everything you see online too seriously. That includes this video. We're all adults, and chances are, if you are watching this video, I don't need to convince you to read a book. But if you're new here and are looking to read more books recently and arm yourself with the blades of knowledge and just don't know where to start, there's a reason we start with the classics in school. I know it's not what you want to hear, but it's true. Some classics are worth your time. But I'm not going to sit here and give you a list in this video of what classics you should start with, though that would make a pretty good video. I should write that down. Part of the fun is figuring out your own reading style for yourself. There are plenty of classics I can't stand, and some I will love forever. Alright, so the worst thing about this entire online debate is that everyone just seems to be screaming out into the void without actually coming up with a solution. Now, I'm not saying I found the key myself, however, I can collect my research and present it here for you today as a suggested guide I've made for myself. Something that might, with practice, help us all just read better, understand deeper, and retain more from the stories we choose to indulge in, whether that be a rich romance or dense philosophy. First, create an inviting environment for you. We all learn differently, and finding your ideal reading space can be a fun experiment of trial and error. Do you prefer silence over background noise or music? An unreclinable wooden library chair or propped up in bed? An e-reader in the bath or an audiobook in the shower? Highly recommend those, by the way. Very cozy. Find the environment that prepares you for a meaningful reading session and come back to it every time. This consistency will wire your brain into recognizing the pattern every time. Oh, and put your phone away. That goes without saying. Personally, I put my phone on silent on its dock. I crawl in bed and open a notebook with a pen handy. If I have any thoughts or come across a word I like or don't know, I jot it down. Here's an article by Purdue Global with even more tips on how to improve your reading. Okay, second, slow down. Speed reading might feel virtuosic, but comprehension comes from chewing your words. Sentence by sentence. That should be word by word, but you know what I mean. Find that pace first, and the speed will come naturally over time. Don't rush the process. Third, choose challenging books. Sometimes. I'm not saying you have to only read dense Dostoevsky and force yourself through War and Peace, but if those books are what you seek to feel that challenge, by all means, intentionally create a curriculum for yourself that makes sense for your reading goals, while still pushing your difficulty tolerance. Remember we spoke of balance? Perhaps pair a classic with something more contemporary or even a short story to keep up that momentum. Struggle, but don't quit. Struggle is growth, not just with reading. All right. 4. Reflect. Take notes. As I've said, I like to keep a notebook handy while reading and write down whatever comes to mind, so by the end of it, I see how far I've come, and if my view has changed at any point during the reading journey. It's important to do this immediately after reading, while the pages are still fresh. If you feel you need to reflect after every chapter, do it. After every couple of pages, do it. According to this article by Reading Rockets, immediate reflection can cement comprehension. Now, it's easy to be influenced by people online telling you what to read, when to read, and how to read it. But remember, you have free will. Crazy, right? You have the power to pick up any book, read it, and understand it. Online reading culture and book talk doesn't necessarily need to disappear, but that doesn't mean it can't evolve. Perhaps instead of viewing an easy book as a flaw, build that literacy to know when to put a book down that does nothing for you, and pick up something else more challenging. It's unfortunate. I've seen both in the marketing of my own book as well as a consumer and reader, how much tropes are used to just sell, sell, sell. It's effective, it's simple, it's quick. It grabs that attention span that's slowly dwindling and forces your eyes to stick for just a second before scrolling on. And that's why this matters now. Every platform competes for our attention because it's been monetized. Choosing to read deeply, with more compassion, with more humanity, with more intelligence, not in the text itself, but in the digestion of it, is how we resist that influence. Books are supposed to slow us down. Reading quiets an anxious mind. And as humans, it is one of the most empathetic practices we can do today. to put ourselves in the minds and shoes of another for a few hundred pages and witness their story. We risk the loss of cognitive skills en masse, especially now when it is valued so highly, and in doing so we lose more than just literary appreciation, but our entire way of thinking, which can in turn influence us in all other walks of life. Reading shouldn't always be easy. The same as a video game always played on easy mode, this becomes predictable, stagnant, and no longer fun. I don't play video games, but I would think that wouldn't be fun. Yeah, I don't think so, do you? Sometimes it's okay to choose literature that's demanding, that's slow, that asks more of your mind and humanity. And that's the point. With the power of social media at a time when it is so easy to voice our opinions so publicly, we must approach reading from a different angle. Perhaps this year's reading challenge isn't how many books you can finish, but how well you could defend a book's message, how often a story made you reflect on some aspect of your own life or existence. What questions did this book rise within you, or perhaps answer for you while reading? I hope in the face of constant pressure and judgment online, this video brings you a sense of both comfort and challenge. I hope this inspires you to keep reading and keep sharing your opinions and beliefs on literature. The whole purpose of every book ever written is to begin a dialogue. It's our duty as readers to keep up that conversation. Every study or reference I've mentioned in this video today will be linked in the description down below, so please feel free to do your own research if you're so inclined. I'm also going to link a TikTok from a creator named Hannah Booktok, whose video pretty much inspired this one. She makes a good point that throwing shade on Kindle Unlimited for being full of smut while disregarding the fact that some of the classics are also available on Kindle Unlimited is a bad look, babes. And I just loved how she eloquently and simply stated her argument. It comes down to your own engagement in the books you choose to read. Intention matters when approaching reading, whether it be for understanding, enlightenment, or entertainment. As she put it, it's what you value about reading as an act itself. Go watch her full video if you can. Alright, that's all I have for you today, dear viewers. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you're not. I do see a lot of viewers here are actually not subscribed, so consider it. It helps the channel. Today's shoutout goes to Anja Nasasi 4481. Thank you for the compliment. It's interesting, the most popular videos I seem to make that still get pretty good engagement over the years are single book reviews, so I should probably listen to the algorithm as well as my audience and just keep making them. If you have any suggestions on book analyses or deep dives you'd like to see me talk about for at least 10 minutes, go ahead and voice them in the comments down below. Also, I just want to say, as a quick yet important afterthought on this whole matter, it's not lost on me that this entire discourse can also be interpreted as a war on romance. This genre that for years has been cast off as not worth one's time. That if a reader only reads romance, they are not a true reader. And this, I think, is the most dangerous and hurtful rhetoric spreading right now within this whole argument or idea. The characters in romance are more real, more human, and embody more empathy than people I know in real life. And today, that isn't something to scoff at. The characters in Abby Jimenez's books alone made me feel far more seen and understood than those in other genres, so just be kind to one another. Talk about books, yes, but remember, you're human first, and so too are the souls you address through your screen. Oh, and read my book. It's a romance. Linked below. Alright, I'm off to go put all I've learned into practice and meticulously craft a curriculum to follow for myself this year. I suggest you do the same. Stay lost, keep reading. Goodbye. Goodbye. Bye-bye.